Hi, this is Parker Couch with Homestar Financial, and I'm here today to talk about important documents you will need to close on your home loan. There are both state and local laws that will dictate the documents that you need for closing, as well as how you'll actually close on your home loan. And although these laws vary, the mortgage loan settlement has many very standard legal documents and what are often called exhibits required to close on your home loan. So let's look at these required documents, beginning with your closing disclosure, or CD. So what is a closing disclosure, or CD? It's a 5-page document that summarizes your mortgage loan terms. It provides your estimated monthly payments. It also provides your closing costs. And the reason it's still estimated on the closing disclosure is because the settlement agent will be gathering your final costs for items like your property taxes, your homeowner's insurance, and they may vary. When you get your final closing documents, you will have your actual monthly payments. The closing disclosure, or CD, outlines all the payments and credits and specifies who is responsible for paying what. You will receive the closing disclosure a minimum of 3 business days prior to your actual closing date. You must acknowledge that you've actually received the closing disclosure at least 3 business days before you can actually sign your closing documents and, get your house. This is a federal law and there are no exceptions, so you want to be sure to work with your lender on the timing of that closing disclosure. The 3 days are designed to allow you, the borrower, to compare your original disclosure, called the loan estimate, prior video about that, with your closing disclosure and compare the costs. Let's go on to the next documents, which are called your title documents. Title documents, title insurance, ensures that the seller is the legal owner of the property and that there are no claims, liens, or pending judgments against the property that would prevent you from taking ownership. The title is issued before closing, but you are required to pay for it at the closing table. Every lender requires title insurance. The company issuing the title insurance policy will have researched the legal records of the property you're trying to buy to ensure that you're receiving what is called a clear title, or ownership to the property upon transfer. Title companies may offer both a lender's policy and also an owner's policy. A lender's policy is required, so you have no choice on that, but the owner's policy is not required. However, it's a really good idea to have an owner's title policy to protect yourself in case there may be some type of fraud, lien, or faulty title discovered after closing. You'll also be required to have homeowner's insurance. So let's take a look at what that actually looks like. Homeowner's insurance. Your lender will require you to have homeowner's insurance on the property for at the very least the amount of the replacement cost of the property. You should make sure that your policy covers the value of the property as well as the contents in the event that they're destroyed by, God forbid, a catastrophic event. Homeowners insurance policies, they've got to be paid for and be active at the time of closing and are often require the borrower to pay 1 full year plus 2 additional months upfront at closing. These funds are often placed into what's called an escrow that will hold the funds and pay them out to the insurance company annually, once a year when they're due. So now let's finally look at the mortgage note. Your mortgage note is it's called the promissory note, and it's legal evidence of your indebtedness and formal promise to repay the debt on the home plus interest within an agreed upon length of time. The mortgage note sets out the amount and terms of the home loan and also recites the penalties and steps that the lender can take if you fail to make your payments on time. Along with the mortgage note is the mortgage deed of trust. Mortgage deed of trust, now that's the security instrument which gives the lender a claim against your house if you fail to live up to the terms set out in the mortgage note. The deed of trust recites the legal rights and obligations of both you and the lender and gives the lender the right to take the property by foreclosure if you were to ever default on the loan. The deed of trust will be recorded and will provide public notice of the lender's claim, which is called the lien on the property. And now, let's move on to the final closing documents, which we will discuss, and those are your closing instructions. The closing instructions, they're there to serve to engage the closing company or closing attorney with the parties of the real estate transaction. What that means is that the closing company or the closing attorney, they agree to provide settlement services in connection with a transaction for the sale and purchase of a property. The parties who engage are the buyers and the sellers. The documentation authorizes the closing company or the closing attorney, depending on the state, to obtain information necessary for the closing. The closing company, in turn, agrees to prepare, deliver, and record all legal documents necessary to close the transaction. Any additional documentation that will be needed for your closing, well, that'll be set out in the commitment letter from your mortgage lender, and it will depend upon the terms of the actual sale. Peculiarities of the property type and local ordinances. And now these are examples. These could include like the certificate of occupancy or termite inspection, flood insurance, water rights transfer, a radon test, etc. And regardless if the documents are lender or state specific, they should not be taken lightly. Take your time to review them and ask your lender questions. It's also important to remember that you have a deadline for your closing, which is usually dictated by your sales contract. So you got to make sure that you get your documents together, you review them on time, and you send them to your lender. Once you've reviewed your documentation and you've signed your paperwork, you are well on your way to becoming a homeowner. Thanks so much for watching. This is Parker Couch with Homestar Financial, and you can connect with me at area code 770-540-4936, or you can email me at parker.couch@homestarfc.com. Thanks so much for watching.